Recently, Jennifer Lawrence penned an essay talking about some of the sexism that she's experienced in the entertainment industry. Now, this was a response to the Sony email hack that happened last year, and she wanted to make the case that a lot of women in the entertainment industry don't necessarily get paid the same as male actors, and it might not be because of discrimination. It might have to do with the way women negotiate how much they get paid for these projects. Now, I'm going to read some portions of what she wrote, the more powerful portions, and you can find this on Lena Dunham's Lenny blog, where she talks about sexism and things like that. So Jennifer Lawrence writes, "When the Sony email hack happened and I found out how much less I was getting paid than male co-stars, I didn't get mad at Sony. I got mad at myself. I failed as a negotiator because I gave up early. I didn't want to keep fighting over millions of dollars that, frankly, due to 2 movie franchises, I don't need." So she brings up a really good point. And Sheryl Sandberg got a lot of heat for this when she mentioned it in her book, Lean In. Women feel uncomfortable negotiating their salaries, and they feel uncomfortable talking about money. And I know it from firsthand experience. You don't want to seem too aggressive. You don't want to seem unlikable. You don't want to seem like someone who's being a brat or someone who's being greedy. Men tend to be much better at negotiating their salaries because they have been told that they're entitled to more money, right? Whereas women have been told over and over again, you need to be likable, so don't be too aggressive.
So I only half agree with that, to be honest, because I fear that it overgeneralizes, right? So I've been on both ends of that equation many, many times, right? And yes, sometimes men are a lot more assertive, and they come in and say, this is what I want, right? And that's that, right? And nobody ever thinks, oh, what a bitch, right?
No one ever thinks
nobody
what a bitch.
says that, right? They think
oh,
that's...
whoa, he's strong.
Right.
What a strong man.
Right. Now, so I get that. At the same time, there's a lot of guys who are worried about asking for more money. A ton of guys. I would say more often that's the case than like a guy comes in and says, oh, I want more money, right? Because we're all human beings. We're like, oh, is that rude? Is it too much?
Yes.
Am I, yada, yada. I mean, I don't know. Whenever I've been on the end of the equation where I'm asking for money, I always feel like, am I asking for too much?
Oh, it's the most uncomfortable thing. And look, I don't think Jennifer Lawrence is saying that it's much easier for men and that men are just overall better negotiators. I just think that men tend to be more comfortable being assertive, whereas women have been criticized very openly for being too assertive, right? And, just speaking from personal experience, I remember getting hired as a freelancer to contribute for another network. And they had asked me, what do you expect to get paid per segment? And I asked Steve-O, what do you think I should get paid? I was thinking about asking for something ridiculously low. And I remember thinking oh, this is ballsy. I'm asking for a lot of money. Steve-O was like, no, you need to ask for 3 times that amount. And I was like, no, they're not going to hire me. There's no way. When I asked for that amount, first of all, I gave them a low number and then a high number. And I was like, you guys decide. Of course they're going to go for the low number. I'm the worst negotiator, right?
No, that's the most clear mistake of all time.
Because I'm like, okay, if I give them 2 options, at least I won't have to worry about them not hiring me. You see what I'm saying? These are the things that go through your mind. You're told that being assertive is going to be a bad thing and you're going to be looked at as a bitch.
So again, I think that you're tilting the scales against women because of some of the preconceived notions that we put in people's heads with women and men. But I'm telling you, overwhelmingly, my experience is that assertive people are uncommon, okay? The much more common thing for men and women is to worry about seeming like you're asking for too much. And context matters. So if you're from the Ivy League schools, in my experience, right? They come in asking for everything because they're like, what do you mean? I'm God's gift to humanity, right? And so I asked for this, right? And of course I should get it, right?
Yeah.
And if the guy who might be doing much better but is not from a great school, I'm just using that as one of dozens of examples I can give.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, can I get this, right? And so it's not just a man and woman thing. It really, and so, and by the way, a lot of times the part of the equation that nobody ever talks about is people do come in and ask for totally unreasonable things.
Do they?
Definitely.
So you've had people come into the room and put their balls on the table and here are my balls.
Yeah, and I was like, and I'm not interested in your balls.
Okay, fair enough.
So that happens too. I've asked for too much. I've had people ask me for too much.
Yeah.
Both sides of the equation. And then they go, no, that's unreasonable. Fuck off.
So,
So there is something legitimate to worry about, right?
yeah.
So it's a human thing more than anything else. But you're right that it leans a little bit more. In fact, it's not a disadvantage for women as much as it is a slight advantage for men, because some of them are told that it's okay to be assertive.
Yes, fair enough. Okay, and also, I want to be absolutely clear about one thing, because context matters in this story. And that Sony hack indicated that she was getting paid less in the movie. It was like a 70s theme movie. I'm forgetting.
American Hustle, I think.
American Hustle, yes. So she was getting paid less than her male co-stars in that movie. But to be completely fair, okay, to Sony in that case, or to her employers in that case, her role wasn't as big as her male co-stars. You see what I'm saying? So, like, I think that, first of all, she was already getting paid millions of dollars. It's not like they were paying her like $50K and her male co-stars were making millions of bucks. Her role wasn't as big in that movie. I'm being fair.
No, I actually think that she's, funny enough, I'm going to say something that she was worried about in the first place. I think she's over-complaining a little bit, right? Now, not because she makes millions of dollars. I get why she thinks that, oh, that looks bad. Like, I can't complain about it. But no, you can. You just have to find what the marketplace is, right? So Alex Rodriguez doesn't worry that he's being paid too much money. It's outrageous what he gets paid, but he still gets it, right? Yeah. But her role is much smaller, I think, than her male colleagues in that particular movie. I saw the movie. Their roles were larger.
Now, if the movie was Silver Linings Playbook and Bradley Cooper was making way more money than she was, then we're having a conversation. Because her role was just as important in that movie.
Even so, he had the theoretically more challenging role, right? But, I mean, whatever.
What do you disagree with that?
No, 100%. Because he had the disability and stuff. But
so did she. She had a mental
a little
issue.
bit. He was a little bit more mental. But anyway. Okay. Anyway, overall, I totally agree with you, right?
Yes.
So, and now finally, there's another part that I disagree with what she said. So she said that when she was having a discussion with a male colleague, she said something blunt, but not over the top or super offensive. And the guy took a little bit of offense from it. And she interpreted that as, if a guy had said that, nobody would have thought twice about it. When I say it, hey, why are you being so aggressive? And she said, quote, I don't think I've ever worked for a man in charge who spent time contemplating what angle he should use to have his voice heard. Right? Because she was in charge in that situation. And she was trying to figure out how should I use my voice.
She's never met Tom Hank.
Yeah.
Who used to work at TYT and thought a lot about how he would come off.
But that is part of my point. Yeah. No, a lot of guys think in work situations, wait, what is the appropriate way to say this?
They do.
Some people don't think about what's the appropriate way to say it, and they often make a mistake.
Yes. Okay. So right? I think you're right and wrong, because I think that the way a woman comes off hurts her way more than it hurts a man. I mean, look, let's think about
so.
Okay, let's think about it on a macro scale, okay, with presidential elections. Okay, just think about the 2008 election and the way Hillary Clinton was perceived versus the way any other male candidate was perceived. She was considered what? Shrill. Her laugh was considered shrill.
No.
I mean, it's just the way that a woman comes off if she happens to act the exact same way a man acts. I'll give you another example. On this very show, go to any type of video where Cenk and I disagree about something passionately. Cenk disagrees with me. He gets a little loud, as he should. Like, that's what makes this show interesting. Cenk is passionate. If I get very heated about something, I'm emotional, okay? So those words matter. Those perceptions matter. There's definitely a difference.
And I don't know why you're getting so emotional about this. So, I mean, if you could just bring down the shrillness for a second.